welcome to Edinburgh. Right above me is Edinburgh Castle. This is going to be the first stop on our journey through Scotland. This place showed signs of settlement dating all the way back to the Bronze Age, so of course there's no way for me to tell you all about this history. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to head up right there and tell you about those facts that impressed me the most when I heard them the first time. So let's go! So while I'm on my way up, I already have the first fact for you. I'm actually right beneath the castle right now, and the mountain you can see above me, this is called Castle Rock, and Castle Rock is not a normal hill. It is actually part of an extinct volcano. It formed around 450 million years ago, so it's ages ago. It does not have a lava supply anymore, so we're totally safe being here. But still, it's pretty cool, right? We're in the castle right now. We're at the lower defenses. There's not a lot of wind here, which is good because my hair would get all crazy. It's so windy in the city. Oh yeah, talking of wind, hello there. So the next story actually deals with the darker time of the castle's history. Maybe you know that Scotland has been one of those places in Europe where most women actually lost their lives between the 15th and 18th century because they were accused of being witches. And at this place, Edinburgh Castle is actually the place where the most women lost their lives and were burned at the stake. Around 300. That's what we know today. The last woman who actually stood trial for witchcraft was Eilean Donan. And now you can guess at what time that was. Write it down in the comments. I would be interested to know what you think. Eilean Donan, I'm going to tell you right now, Eilean Donan actually stood trial for witchcraft in 1944. She was the last one, and after that the law was actually repealed, the witchcraft law. But 1944 is quite the number, huh? I would have thought it would be something in the 18th century, but no, 1944. Today, only a small whale at the entrance of the castle reminds us of these tragic deaths. So next time you come to Edinburgh Castle, have a look, maybe you'll spot it. Just like any other proper Scottish castle, Edinburgh Castle is haunted by quite a few ghosts. There are some dogs running around that were actually buried at the pet cemetery at the castle. And then there is the headless drummer boy. Nobody has seen him for quite some time and nobody really knows how he lost his head. But I guess in his place it would be difficult to answer the question, right? So the last story about Edinburgh Castle I'm going to tell you from down here. Edinburgh Castle is the safekeep of the crown jewels of Scotland, or the honours of Scotland as some say. Among this treasure is a sandstone the size of a suitcase, and this stone is called the Stone of Destiny or the Stone of Scone. It's probably the most famous stone in all Scottish history, or probably in the world. It's quite legendary. Nobody knows where it comes from. It must have been something around 400 AD. It has been the coronation chair of Scottish kings for centuries. Actually, the last Scottish king that was crowned up on this stone was John Balliol in 1292. After that, Edward I invaded Scotland. He stole the stone and took it back to London and incorporated it in the coronation chair in London. Only in 1996, the Queen Elizabeth actually said that it would be okay for the stone to return back to Scotland. So, within these 700 years, the stone got lost once. In 1950, 4 Scottish nationalists stole the stone and took it back to Scotland. It only reappeared a year after. There are quite a few legends around the stone. Some actually say that the stone Edward I took from Scotland was never the real one, and the real one has been hidden away from him. So, of course they tell you the stone up there is the real one, but nobody really knows that it is. So, with that, we're gonna leave Edinburgh and head on to the next castle. See you there. New day, new castle. Welcome to Dunnottar. So this castle has actually seen quite a few funny people around the years. But there's one story in particular that makes this castle so special. And that has something to do with something that I've told you about yesterday. And that is the honours of Scotland. In 1651, Charles II was crowned with these particular crown jewels very close to in the Palace of Scone. But at this point, Oliver Cromwell was already marching into Scotland, trying to suppress the royalists that were still loyal to the monarchy here in Scotland. So they couldn't really send the crown jewels back to Edinburgh. The Privy Council decided to hide the crown jewels here in Dunnottar Castle. Unfortunately, Oliver Cromwell caught wind of that and laid siege to the castle, which resulted in a defeat after 8 months of bombardment. But when Oliver Cromwell stormed into the castle, he looked into an empty chest. The crown jewels were gone. So what happened? In order to save the crown jewels, as well as some private letters of the king, 4 women thought of an audacious plan to smuggle the royal treasure out of the castle, right under the nose of Cromwell's men. They sewed the letters into their belts and hems and smuggled them out of the castle on foot without raising suspicion. The crown, scepter and sword were lowered to the beach on the backside of the cliff, where they were collected by a woman that pretended to be harvesting seaweed. One of the women was the wife of a minister, and that's how we know where the honors were taken next. So right now we're 7 miles away from Dunnottar Castle in a very remote location. This is Kenneth Church. This is the small church where they buried the crown jewels after they smuggled them out of Dunnottar Castle. The crown jewels remained here for 9 years and were only returned after the restoration of the monarchy by Charles II. Unfortunately for the schemers, they never received their reward. So that's the tragic end of the story. See you at the next castle. Hi everyone and welcome to castle number 3. So right now I am at Eilean Donan. This is a castle that actually sits on a crossroad of 3 different lochs. I'm on the road to the Isle of Skye right now, and this one is actually really close to Carl of Lodge, where the bridge to the Isle of Skye is. But before I'm going to tell you all about its history, this one is a little bit different than the ones that I featured before. I didn't want to come here because of its historic significance in the past. No, I wanted to come here because of the landscape. I mean, look at this. Talk history. As I said, it's not that historically significant. It only played a minor role in the Jacobite uprising of 1719. 46 Spanish soldiers occupied this castle and hoarded some gunpowder there. However, the English government caught wind of that and bombarded the castle, which led to its ultimate destruction. Now, the castle that you see behind me is not even 100 years old. It was actually rebuilt by a family that now owns the land. Some of you might recognize this castle. That might be because it was featured in series like Outlander and also in the James Bond The World Is Not Enough.
I suppose we all have to pay the piper sometime.
So this is it. These are my 3 favorite castles of Scotland. Of course, there are many more and I'd love to feature them in future videos. So for that reason, leave me some feedback. If you want, you can also add to what I have said. Maybe you know more than I do. Also, leave a like and I would love for you to subscribe as well. Bye-bye.